Hello, everyone. We think we've resolved our technical issues. If you could please let us know if you can hear us now. We do apologize for that delay. But we are trying to make sure that you can hear us and that we can record it and that you can see the slides. So you all can hear us now. Great. So I don't know what you heard and what you didn't hear, so I'm going to kind of start over from the beginning. My name is Benita Brown, the Vice President for Network Engagement, and I'm joined with my colleagues today, Nikisha Boyer, Dr. Elaine Reese, and Susan Mayer. And today we're going to give an overview of the Leader College application process. So today you'll learn how to access the materials, what is required in the application, and a detailed explanation of the metrics. We will also give you a chance to ask questions, and you all are already using the chat feature box Q&A, so we appreciate that. So we will answer your questions at the end of the session. So for more than a decade, Achieving the Dream has been working with colleges across the country to redesign the student experience at colleges with the ultimate goal of increasing credential attainment and closing equity gaps. ATD created the designation of Leader College to recognize and celebrate colleges that have achieved and sustained significant improvements in student outcomes. This designation shows the world that your campus is committed to student success and that you are taking necessary steps to ensure that your students are succeeding and that your claims are supported by metrics. The Leader College is a 3-year designation that highlights metrics that we were showing that you'll see later. So you don't have to apply every year, but after your 3-year term, you will then have to recertify to maintain your Leader College status. So being a Leader College is not just a designation. We're now building in expectations for Leader Colleges to model how colleges can better serve their students and share lessons mentoring program, where we want Leader Colleges to partner with our newer network colleges and assist them on this student success journey. If your college receives this designation, we also want you to be visible. We would like for you to present at our National Dream Institute and at other ATD institutes to share your knowledge with the network. We also believe that Leader Colleges can be great ambassadors for encouraging other colleges to join the ATD network. And we also know that being a Leader College is of great benefits to the college. Your college will be known across the country for your quality work, as we often highlight stories about our Leader Colleges on our webpage and in our national newsletter. And Leader Colleges are recognized at Dream. Your college will also get to utilize the beautiful Leader College logo that we shared earlier on your website and your marketing materials, so that you are immediately recognized as a Leader College. As a Leader College, your college could also receive priority invitations to participate in ATD innovation grants, where you will get the opportunity to pilot new initiatives that may put your college even more on the cutting edge of new innovation practices. So hopefully that provides you with a framework of this process. And I know there was a lot of information, so again, don't worry, we will put this recording on the webpage so you can get back to it as you need it. But we hope that gives you a general overview of what being a Leader College entails and what it means. And so with that, I want to turn it over to Nikisha, who will walk you through the steps of the application process. Nikisha?
Great, thank you, Benita. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's get started with accessing the Leader College application material and instructions, which are stored on the Achieving the Dreams website at achievingthedream.org. On this slide that is before you, I have outlined the steps to access the application. Once you have accessed the ATD website, click on the following series of tabs, which starts with the Resources tab at the top of the header, marked with the number 2 on the slide. And then third, you will click on the Knowledge Center tab, which stores the link that gets you one step closer to accessing the 2018 new ATD Leader College application. Once you click on the Knowledge Center tab, down at the bottom, towards the bottom of the page under Resource Files, you will find a link to the application document itself. When you click on the attached file, the interactive form of the Leader College application will be displayed. It starts out with an introduction and followed by this year's eligibility requirements. So for eligibility to apply, colleges must meet the following criteria: completion of at least 3 years of active participation in ATD, active ATD participation in current year, which also includes the payment of 2018-2019 invoice, and your college must be in good standing with the accrediting agency and is not on a warning or probation. Each application for a new eLeader College designation will be reviewed through a selection process that may include consultation and feedback from ATD staff and coaches to supplement information submitted by applicants. Applications will be assessed on their ability to provide the following comprehensive information. One will be evidence of an upward trend in student outcomes over the past 4 years, as well as evidence that one equity gap or multiple equity gaps were narrowed on at least one metric, using the metrics selected from the list of 4 that we will walk through shortly. 2, a qualitative evidence to support the improvement in student outcomes. And 3, a clear link between the impact of the specific actions that your college has taken and the improvement in student outcomes. Institutions applying for initial Leader College certification must show an upward multi-year trend on the metrics which details are to follow. Please note that ATD recognized that in specific years, unanticipated changes may interrupt a steady improvement on student success outcomes. We ask colleges to please explain in detail the circumstances of any such unexpected events, if applicable. On page 3 of the application document, we've incorporated the application worksheet. It's similar to our annual report and reflection process. This application worksheet enables collaborative drafting of college responses. Colleges may copy their drafted responses and paste them in the online form once all application material is ready to be submitted. The online form link is embedded within the application document. This year's Leader College application consists of 3 segments. 1, the quantitative aspect that requires a data template and analysis. Section 2 is a qualitative narrative. And section 3 consists of a letter from the college president or chancellor. For quantitative data, colleges must report 4 years of data and show a 3-year upward trend on the 2 metrics selected, as well as evidence that equity gap or gaps are narrowed on 1 or more of the metrics. The list of metrics is comprised of completion of gateway math and or English in 1 year, persistence from year 1 to year 2, fall to fall, courses attempted, completed with C- or higher grade within 1 year of initial enrollment, and 4, the completion of a certificate or degree within 4 years of initial enrollment. For the data analysis portion of section 1, colleges should reflect on their completed data template and provide a narrative to describe the improvement in the 2 or more metrics selected. The narrative should include a description of the equity gap that was narrowed on at least 1 metric and the student population impacted. Information should be reported on the nature, scale, and timing of the large-scale student success reforms and best practices colleges have implemented to improve outcomes. In section 2 of the qualitative narrative, colleges are asked to reflect on the extent to which their culture promotes student success and demonstrate how their student success agenda is built on the foundations of the 7 capacity areas of the institutional capacity framework. Successful colleges should tell a cohesive, engaging story of how capacity strengths enable the institution to successfully implement large-scale reforms and the extent to which the college has built capacity for sustainability change. And for the third component of the application process, Colleges must attach a letter from the president or chancellor that further explains why the institution should receive Leader College status. Include how your college has contributed to the National ATD Learning Network, and if designated as a Leader College, how your college will contribute to the network going forward. Now, I will turn this next segment of the presentation over to respective members of our data team to provide information on data specifications and analysis, and to define the cohort and metrics for this year's new Leader College application. So the next ATD voices you will hear are those of Dr. Elaine Reese, Director of Research, and Susan Mayer, our Chief Learning Officer.
Thanks, Nikisha. This is Elaine. So I wanted to talk about the more technical piece of this process, which is the data specifications. As Nikisha presented on a previous slide, there are 4 different sets of metrics you can choose from so that you can provide 4 years of data, pick 2 essentially. And again, we're looking for an overall upward trend in progress. So if we're looking 4 years out, you might go down a little bit a year and then go back up. We're just looking for explanation and that overall beginning point to end point. And again, those metrics are completion of Gateway Math and or English within first year of enrollment. And here we've given you the options of just math, just English, or if you're looking at students who are enrolled in both math and English to see if they've completed. Persistence from year 1 to year 2, also known as fall-to-fall persistence. Courses attempted or completed with a C- or higher grade within first year of enrollment.
It's courses attempted versus completed. So the percentage of courses that students attempted to take and that the students completed the number of courses students completed as a percentage of the ones they attempted to take.
Right. Number of courses. Yeah. Number of courses attempted versus what they took. And then completion of a certificate or degree within 4 years of initial enrollment. So essentially 4-year graduation rate, also including certificates. In addition to reporting school-wide trends on your selected metrics, you also must make sure to disaggregate by at least one student characteristic. And we've expanded some of the options from other collections that we might have done in the past. We've always said ethnicity and gender, as well as income status, which we're classifying as either students are or not a Pell recipient at any point. We've also included veteran status and first-generation college student status, as we feel that at some schools, these are metrics that are readily collected and represent reasonable percentages of the population. And I want to stress that piece. If you're selecting a subgroup, it really should represent a reasonable percentage of your student body. We prefer not to see outcomes related to maybe a particular niche program that might have affected 0.2% of all of your students. They should be sustainable and scalable. So definitely looking at, if you have a very, very small school, yeah, you might have a group size of 25 if you only have a couple hundred students in a cohort. I have a question, disability status. I did not mention that. However, I will note in a moment that we do have an optional field, so I'll get to that momentarily. I know veteran and first gen are ones that we've explicitly stated. So in analyzing the data, we have a template that I've assembled, which I will dig into this in depth in a few moments, but it's designed so that you have an easy place to put in your numbers and it will calculate percentages and you can see the trends appear. Defining the cohort. So before you select your metrics, you need to determine the cohort of students that you're analyzing. So you have a choice of either being new to the institution. So I call this the most inclusive option. This consists of any students who entered your institution for the first time in a given fall. It doesn't matter what kind of previous enrollment they may have gathered. So students who might have transferring credits because they were enrolled somewhere else. Students who were formerly duly enrolled high school students are coming in with credit. So you're looking at students who started at your school for the first time at the same time, but they're not all coming in with 0 credits. So that's just new to institution. The other option is to select first time ever in college students, which is the most level option, because in that case, you're looking only at students who are both new to your institution and have no prior credits at all. So they're not transferring anything in from other enrollments in other institutions. They are not coming in with any sort of dual enrollment. So when you're looking at growth, you're looking at students who are starting with 0 credits. When you select your 2 metrics, they will be using the same cohort. So if you're looking at graduation and credits earned, and you select FTEIC, that's going to apply to both metrics. So we're looking for just consistent, we're looking at the same groups of students overall. And going a little bit in depth into the metrics, first is completed Gateway English and or Math in year 1. So again, we're looking at successful completion as earning a C- or higher grade in Gateway courses within first year of initial enrollment. So if you're looking at students who began in fall of 2014, we're looking for completions that happen in the 14-15 school year. And you can report it for just math, just English, or math and English, which is kind of that Venn, if you're think about it as a Venn diagram, it's that intersection of those who are enrolled in both courses. This is considered one category, so saying that you're going to report on math only and English only, that doesn't count as your 2 metrics. You can report on as many within this category as you feel is applicable, but this is one category of a measure. This counts as one of your measures, even if you report on all of those subcategories.
And just for absolute clarity, when we refer to gateway courses, we're talking about college level courses. So in some cases, math could be intermediate algebra. In other cases, it could be college level algebra. It's based on the definition at your institution for what a gateway math or English course is. And some of you are doing co-requisite instruction as well that combines developmental with college level courses, either in a semester or in a year. So we're in that case where there's co-requisite instruction, we're looking for completion of the college level component of the co-requisite course. So not the developmental component, but the college level component.
Thanks, Susan. And just as another note, you will see each metric is a little different in the cohort years that we're selecting. So here in this case, it's the fall 2014 through fall 2017 starting cohorts, because we are now coming into the 18-19 school year, being that 17-18 has just completed. You should by the fall have this kind of information ready for even through summer completions of the 17-18 school year. So you will see in the data template, we've already specified the cohort years. We're trying to find the most recent that you would reasonably have information for. So that's why we've selected 14 through 17 as the starting cohorts. The next metric that you can choose is persistence of your cohort from year 1 to year 2. So that's fall to fall. That is the number and percentage of students persisting or re-enrolling in your institution between year 1 and year 2. If for whatever reason, this would be more of the case if you're not selecting the FTEIC option, unless you have students who are taking a whole lot of classes in 1 year. If they graduate, that would still count as persisting, because really we wouldn't count that against you, that they graduated very quickly. Because we're looking at a metric that you can't quite calculate until the following fall's numbers are in, we bounce this back. This is the fall 2013 through fall 2016 cohorts, because we look at it and say the 16-17 cohort, we need to see what happened in fall of 2017 to see if they persisted. If we chose fall of 2017, you need to wait until September or October of this year to see if they truly persisted. So that's why those cohort years are shifted a year back. Just as a point of clarification, if you say, is that a typo? There's a reason why we selected what we did. And we have a question, for completed gateway courses, can we exclude students seeking a certificate where the college level English or math is not required as part of completing the certificate?
If the math and English is not required as part of the certificate program, then it should be explained in the narrative. And the data, to submit the data and explain in the narrative. Most certificate programs will include one or the other.
Right. So yeah. So in other words, you know, include what you have, but make sure to add a note in the narrative to make sure that we have that information. That's a good question. The third measure is college credits earned versus attempted with a grade of C- or higher, or in the case of pass-fail courses, a pass, within 1 year of initial enrollment. And this is the metric where we're not looking in terms of number of students, we are looking in terms of number of credits attempted versus completed. Again, we're looking fall cohort students, first full academic year. And again, because we're looking at course completions, which should happen by the end of the summer, these are, again, the fall 2014 through fall 2017 cohorts. And again, I've noted numerator and denominator are in numbers of credits, not numbers of students. That is also reiterated in the data template to make sure that you're looking in the proper measure of scale.
I'll go back in the Q&A. I want to revisit that question.
All right. And then the last metric we have is for your certificate or degree completion. So number and percentage of students attaining a certificate or degree within 4 years from initial enrollment. You'll notice these cohort years are shifted back a couple of years because in order to determine 4-year degree completion, we need to give students 4 years to do so. So if we take a look at the oldest cohort, fall 2010, 4 years out, that would be students graduating potentially roughly in the spring of 2014. So 2014, 15, 16, and 17. We didn't bring it up to 2018 because we know graduation's maybe a little more complicated. You don't always have all the metrics. So that's why we've selected those cohort years. But again, the cohorts that you see are the starting years. So in that last cohort, fall of 2013 reflects students who started in fall of 2013, and you're reflecting upon what happened to them 4 years later by spring or summer of 2017. So again, this is just straight 4-year completion of their certificate or degree. And at this point, and I've given some written instructions here, but I'm going to flip over to the Excel workbook. Does completion mean at your institution or any institution?
So completion should be completion at any institution.
Right.
Many of you may have seen the National Clearinghouse data report that was discussed this morning that talked about the number of students who are actually reverse transfer completing associate's degrees without having completed the work, all of the work at the institution. So if you have data that can show that students have actually earned an associate degree, if that's the metric that you're choosing, by finishing that at a transfer institution, and you can explain that in the narrative, we would be glad to examine the data and understand the story behind it.
Yes, and your National Student Clearinghouse reports do indicate that a student might have transferred and earned an associate's degree somewhere else, or even a baccalaureate degree within 4 years. So yes, it can be from another institution if they started in your school's cohort. So yes, very good question. Hold on one moment, and I will show you the Excel template. All right, so hopefully you're able to see the Excel template. If you're able to see the Excel template, only because we had some technical difficulties earlier, could you just either raise your hand or put in a comment to say that you see something that's not the, okay, great, okay, just making sure. All right, I'm gonna zoom in so you can actually see this a little more. Okay, so there is a multi-tabbed workbook here, essentially, and in this workbook, there's a clearly labeled green tab that says "Start here" because we want you to start here. There's a lot of instructions here; it's important. So here you are entering some basic information. We've started with Sample Community College. Please enter your name so we know who you are, and then here you have the option to select some items that will carry through to the rest of the workbook so that you don't have to keep re-entering. So cohort type, there's a drop-down that you're selecting either all students new to institution or FTEIC only. And I'm just gonna select all students new to institutions. You can see how that carries through. And then other options are just hard-coded throughout, but race ethnicity, if you select to use that as a disaggregation, and again, it doesn't have to, or I will note, race ethnicity does not have to represent your 3 largest race ethnicity groups. They could be ones that are perhaps most at risk that you're targeting, but just please don't report on, I mean, preferably they should have at least 25 students. Please do not report on them if they have fewer than 10 because that becomes a privacy violation at a certain point. But you have the option of, you can put in a drop down what race ethnicity groups you want to report on. Otherwise, they'll just say select group if for whatever reason you don't want to report on race ethnicity. There's also a your choice option. So I know somebody asked earlier, is disability an option? Now, if you have a large enough population of students reporting with disabilities, I'm going to actually use that as a great example here. There's a group name, enter group. So I could say students with disabilities, and you will see that follow through. So even though we've provided a lot of different subgroups of interest to report on, if you have somebody, a group that you feel better represents your institution and different initiatives you've been working on, enter them in that group name. So that's just kind of the starter tab. You will then be greeted in subsequent tabs with things that look kind of like this. So yeah, Sample Community College is up here, and you'll see all students new to the institution. And here you have a variety of kind of greenish, lighter colored boxes and some dark gray boxes and some white boxes. The green boxes are where you will be entering any of your counts. So the top area, as it says here, you have total students. These are your denominators. It's essentially, this is my cohort of students. You're reminded on the right-hand side of each tab for any relevant definition. So here I'm on the Gateway Courses tab. You see you have your cohorts across the top, and you have counts. So let's say I have an overall, I have 500 students here. I'm just making up numbers, 600 and 650 students. These are my denominators of who's in the cohort. You'll see in the denominator section up top that you will have a bunch of dark gray boxes. That is because all these would calculate to 100% because these are the percent columns. Below the overall line is where you have any of your options to enter for if you're reporting for gender or ethnicity. Notice in the optional group, I put students with disabilities as that optional, and now it reports students with disabilities and not students with disabilities. The way I have this set up is whatever you enter in optional, it will automatically put not and then whatever your group is, because it's just, in terms of making things consistent, we're just treating it as a binary group. And then below, you then get into your math only completion. So you have, right now, all these are reporting as 0% because we don't have any numerators in. So let's say we have 300 students here, and 400 and 350 and 375. The percentages calculate in the white cells next to it. So you have a common numerator of students, and then you have a common denominator of students, and then you have the numerators that represent this is the percentage of students who completed a math only gateway course. The percentages calculate, and then up at the top you'll notice you have a 1-year change and 3-year change calculated for you, so you can easily see, was this an increase or a decrease either in the short term or in the longer term. That is the basic workings of how this Excel workbook functions. We have then tabs for fall to fall persistence, where again, you have the KPI at the top to remind you of what this metric is. You have the definitions on the side, and then you have where you can enter for denominator and for the numerator of what we're actually measuring. And again, the numbers won't appear unless you start putting numbers in the denominator. Credit attempts, this is where, again, you're flagged credits, not students themselves, as that metric. And then we have 4-year completion. Let's take a look. So we have that there, and I got a question, just hold up one moment. And yeah, 4-year completion, you'll notice the cohorts here are hard-coded to correspond to the cohorts you want to collect. I will also note that this Excel workbook is locked down in a sense where you can only enter in those drop downs or in the greenish boxes that I've provided essentially. And the reason why we do that is not because we don't want you to get creative. You have all the space in your application to write about any exceptions. It's just when we receive them, we want to make sure that things have stayed consistent, as we want to be able to compare everybody fairly. I have a question germane to this. When entering denominators, should we include students who attended one class and then stopped coming to school? What about, so that's essentially your never showed or your withdrawals.
Well, if a student enrolled in one course and completed that and stayed in the course over the semester, then they're part of the cohort. If the student enrolled and withdrew during the period, they're not part of the cohort. And let me just, if I can clarify the gateway course again, I've been thinking about it a little bit more. And it relates to the definition of the denominator. If students are in certificate programs that do not require math and English, they should not be in the denominator. So even though they may be new to your college or first FTEIC in your college, if they're in a program that doesn't require math and English, then they shouldn't be part of the cohort where you're measuring success in math and English. They can be part of the cohort for fall to fall retention.
Yes.
They should be part of the cohort for graduation, and courses attempted versus completed, but they would not be part of the math and English cohort if those courses are not required in your certificate programs. So apologies for not being clear on that earlier.
No, it's a good clarification. That's precisely why on each tab, we ask you separately for denominators, because we understand that your denominator for gateway courses might be entirely different than your denominator for persistence, even though you're still looking at FTEIC students and they might be some overlapping cohorts. So that's exactly why we do what we've done. So if you hold up one moment, I will get back to our slideshow. We did answer the question. The students who attended one class and then stopped coming to school, we wouldn't include. I mean, if they attended one class and they were enrolled in the class, they would be included. Susan, if you can just repeat back the.
So what I was saying is, if a student is enrolled in the class and withdraws from the course during the withdrawal period, and the student doesn't, then the student is not part of the cohort. If the student only enrolls in one course, completes that course, that student is included in the cohort because they have been a student for that first semester at the college.
Right. Nope, that makes total sense. Yep. All right, so back to the data template here, or about the data template. So just the things to remember, start with your first tab. The template is set up to do calculations for you. We're providing definitions on each tab, so you don't have to go back and forth to anything to figure out where to go. And yes, I see some other questions have come in, and we will get to those momentarily. Cohort years may change from tab to tab, so again, just pay attention to which cohorts you're on. There is the year choice option, but it's set up as a binary. So again, if you enter students with disabilities, it will then say not students with disabilities. And the gray boxes are there for a reason. I realize this point might be a little, I realize I might have typoed this slightly, but the dark gray boxes are to say that nothing can calculate. And the gray box, the very dark gray boxes are there because you're going to get a bunch of 100% because those are with denominators. The light white boxes next to the numbers that you enter are there so that percentages could appear. So yeah, we'll fix that up a little bit. I apologize. At this point, and let me just answer this question before we move on. Do the cohorts only include students after high school graduation as with IPEDS reporting? So students, yes. If for whatever reason, if you have some students who are currently dually enrolled, they wouldn't be part of these cohorts. If you have students who have previously had dual enroll credit, they would be included in the everybody cohort, the ones that are coming in potentially with credit. But yeah, we're not looking at those students who are still in high school because that's just a separate piece. So that is a good question. All right, so yes, the online application and the template are found on the ATD website, and I will turn it over to Benita to finish out.
All right, thank you, Elaine, for that information, and thanks to everyone on the webinar for your patience with our technology challenges. I know we've given you a lot of information today, and so I just want to briefly kind of review the main parts of the application. So as you know, there are eligibility requirements. So please check those, check your college before you proceed with all of this work to make sure that you are indeed eligible. And then there are three parts: a narrative reflecting on how your culture promotes student success, and you incorporate the ICAT capacities. And we really are reading these narratives. So I really beg you to put just as much into this narrative as you do into the data piece, because we want to know the story of your campus. Seeing data is one thing, but hearing the story of how you navigate, what the culture is like, how you made those changes, adds a different layer of context. It's going to help us make this decision of whether or not you are really the leader college status that we want to see. A letter from your president or chancellor explaining why you should receive it. We know all of you are great, but we want to hear that from your chancellor, and we want to hear how you can contribute to the network. So if you have questions about that, examples of that are like presenting at DREAM. Have you done a regional or statewide convening where someone from your staff facilitated sessions on what you've done? Have you done webinars or videos? We want to know how you're sharing your work that you're doing across the network in your state or in your region. So again, those two pieces are just as important as the data pieces, because we want to know that you are holistically leader college quality, that we can stand up as an example. And then finally, the data template, which we just walked through. And as Elaine mentioned, the applications are due October the 12th. So please mark that on your calendars. And with that, we will now take questions that you may have. Remember, I think you all have already found the Q&A box or the chat box. Please put in your questions. And if we cannot answer it now, we will follow back up with questions. This webinar will be posted. And you can also send questions to network at achievingthedream.org. We will be monitoring that to make sure that you have what you need to be able to do this work. And so at this time, Elaine, any questions?
All right, so we have a question. Is it the same process for reapplication as a leader college? That might have been something that was eaten by our audio. Well, yes and no.
So yes and no. So once you reapply, there will be a data template. The metrics that you will have to use will be different. We can't say what that will be right now, because if you get certified now, you'll be recertified for 3 years, and in 3 years, who knows what we could be measuring. So the data template will not be the same, but there will be a data template. We will likely be requiring a narrative for you to tell the story. So the process will be similar, but not identical. Any other questions? Don't be shy. And so as I mentioned, we will edit this webinar and it will be posted online so you can refer to it once you begin your work. The materials are posted. I do see a question has come in.
We're currently a leader college. Are these the documents we complete this year to reapply?
No, it is not. Again, this is for new colleges who have never been certified as a leader college. The recertification process, we will have that webinar, and that information will be released in a couple of weeks, so more toward the end of the month. This is for those colleges who have never obtained or were never designated as leader colleges.
We apologize if that directive might have gotten eaten by our audio issues at the beginning of the webinar, but I mean, there's probably some parallels, but no, it's not the same. It's not the same. So we apologize on that piece. Sharing examples of successful applications. Well, this is a different process this year for leader colleges. So while we're still taking some of the soul of the old process, we've revamped it a bit. So you don't really have examples because it's new.
But what we can say is, some good rubrics to follow are, as Elaine said, the cohort that you choose to focus on, specifically the interventions or the strategies for student success that you want to talk about should be significant. They should be a critical mass at your institution. The strategies and the interventions should be scaled already or designed with scale in mind, and you're in the process of scaling them. The growth and progression should be significant. And as Benita said, the story that tells us how you did it, what processes you followed, what challenges you faced along the way, how you overcame them, how this is a sustainable change in the way you do business, all of that is critically important.
Very good point. We have another question. With race and ethnicity, do we choose whites as a point of reference? Not necessarily, no.
There are many colleges within our population who have majority minority population, so you should be adjusting your benchmarking to what your college population is.
Those are very good questions. Are there any others? If not, I see one.
So for those of us who are already leader college, have another webinar in the future.
Yes.
Yes, there will be.
Toward the end of this month, there will be another webinar about recertification.
Just for you.
Just for recertification. We are finalizing that information now. We will send out an email to let you know when that process is opening, and we will send the date for the webinar for recertification.
Can multiple race be a choice? Yeah, I believe on the template, multiracial as a singular group is a choice. But yeah, you can define multiracial how it's appropriate. Can we share successful applications? Again, this is a new.
This is, so the process, as Benita said, of having a narrative and a data template and a letter is the same as what we've done. We're using some different metrics this year, and we're asking that the president or chancellor's letter include some additional information this year. So anything we would send would not be particularly relevant, given that the process is different this year.
But again, we are here to answer your questions, so don't struggle. Please reach out and let us know what questions you are having, and we'll definitely work with you to walk through these questions to get you to the right answer. Okay, so thank you all again for participating. We look forward to receiving your materials so we can review those. We look forward to selecting leader colleges. Also on the webpage for that, we will try to put up a timeline of when we expect to have an answer, when we will select them. So just stay tuned, submit your information, ask us questions if you have any, and we look forward to working with you all in the future. Thank you.